Well, first up in sport, let's talk the oval-shaped ball of rugby, and the Zimbabwe senior men's team were welcomed to a hero's reception at the Robert Mugabe International Airport days after conquering Africa and subsequently going to the World Cup in 2027. Sables head coach Pete Bernard is delighted to have given the nation something to smile about.
It's crazy being able to come to this place and see so many happy people. We work hand in hand with our fans, so we appreciate it so much, and we're very blessed that we can provide the happiness and the pride to our people. So we take that seriously, and it's an honor. No, I think all coaches believe in themselves, up to a point. There was never a doubt that we were good enough to achieve something special. So you aim for the stars, and it's a bit crazy that we've achieved it. It doesn't feel real yet, but getting here, we start to see and feel. I think when we got to Uganda, we were comfortable. We stayed in the same hotel. We played at the same place. So we kept telling ourselves, this is our home ground. For people to beat us there, they need to be special. We needed to be special, and luckily we were just good enough. I don't think we played our best, but we were good enough on 3 occasions, and that's all we needed.
Bernard is impressed by the changes that have happened since his appointment back in March in 2024.
I think there will be an adaptation period, I'm sure. Going into the tier 2 teams will be a challenge, and then I think the biggest blessing will be starting to play the tier 1 teams. Just having Zimbabwe on the same field is a victory. Maybe say that, and then for us to start competing will take a lot of effort and planning and believe again, So those are things that have seemed good to us, that we have to continue working on.
So look, I'm trying to look as far back as I don't remember. The chances that Zimbabwe rugby, were taking because they wanted Zimbabwe to be right there at the top. I think up topmost for everyone was just to do away with Namibia's, dominance in terms of 1, Africa Cup, and 2, going to the World Cup. And I remember even the time when De Villiers came to coach the Sables, because he came with a huge profile after coaching South Africa, and he came, so many changes. Middleton also came in, so many coaches came in. The only thing that Zim Rugby wanted was to conquer Africa, yes, outside of South Africa, do away with that dominance by Namibia and qualify for the World Cup. So now we have won the Africa Cup twice in a row. We have qualified for the World Cup. This is what Zimbabwe Rugby just wanted. And
you know what? It's been a fantastic run for Pete Bernard in particular since his appointment in March 2024. 13 games unbeaten. I mean, that in itself is a fantastic record. 2 Rugby Africa Cup titles and a World Cup qualification. And I remember there were a lot more question marks when he was announced as the head coach, because especially at international level, he didn't have the same profile as a Pete de Villiers or a Brendan Dawson, for example, who he took over from, who played at the 91 Rugby World Cup. And I think even some critics questioned his pedigree, but I think he silenced him. And what I've loved, enjoyed more about Bernard is he's not afraid to bring in the right support structures. I think more than what Brendan Dawson did before him, what Peter de Villiers did, his technical team is very strong. It's got some of the very best in the world supporting him, and I think he's got a unique advantage of saying, he's an old Prince Edward boys. So in terms of understanding the rugby culture, I don't mean to make it racial, but race does come into effect. Understanding that divide, I think his Prince Edward experience allows him to navigate both sides. Because sometimes it seems like we've tried to lean too much towards one race and neglect the other, but I think he is firmly rooted in terms of his understanding of the different cultures, especially with his stint at Old Hararians. as well as the coach. So I'm really excited. I just hope that, you know, we have to keep faith in him. I mean, he's done the job, you know, because, you know, like you said, chances are going to come. There's somebody who might come and say, like, I know I've done this. Eddie Jones, maybe, former England coach, might come and say, you know what, do you want to do something at the World Cup that's special? I'm your guy. I just hope we don't betray him now that he has taken us to the promised land.
So what do we do as a nation? So we find ourselves in this situation. Yes, the euphoria is still there. We're celebrating and everything. But real work starts now because 2027 is coming. Yeah. We just don't want to go there and make up numbers in Australia. We want to go there and leave a mark that there was a team called Zimbabwe that came. This is what they did. What do we do now? Now, because I know a lot of money is coming into rugby now. What do we do?
I think for me, one of the biggest frustrations has been with our local league. I think we can't even call it a semi-pro. It is an amateur league. I think 80% almost employed elsewhere. And they would come, like what you and me do, work at ZTN Prime from 8 to 5, and then go and train at a Royal Sports Club for an hour. And I think that money needs to go somewhere in terms of helping to professionalize
the league,
the sport and the league, so that, you know, even the local based players can come and, you know, grow. And because we shouldn't just limit ourselves to 2027. Even right now, we should be thinking about 2031 in the United States. And we can't just say, all right, we'll think about that bridge, because like right now, of course, there's going to be a lot of short-term solutions in terms of players making themselves available. You know, the second-tier nations, you're talking about maybe your Spains, some of those other, the Georgias, they might now want to say, you know what, playing Zimbabwe, especially given that they're going to the World Cup, might not be a bad thing. So that's going to create a lot of opportunities. And my biggest frustration, you look at the current Sable setup, especially with the players who grew up in Zimbabwe. Prince Edward High School, Churchill High School have been the biggest factories in terms of creating the talent. Yes, they might go and get polished at St. John's College, at St. George's or Peterhouse when they get scholarships there, but the talent pool. But we've let them go, and I think this has to be directed at the private schools, because they've been turning their noses up. You say, you know, we don't need to play Prince Edward, we don't need to play Churchill, but we are destroying where our talent comes from.
So now the narrative changes. There is no we want to qualify for the World Cup anymore going forward, because we've already qualified. Now this should be a permanent feature, because we were talking about Namibia. They've been
94.
Since 94, every World Cup, this should have been Zimbabwe. Because now the narrative changes. What do we do? Now are we aiming for the quarters? Are we aiming for the final? And now it comes back to that talent factory.
And I think we have a unique advantage, because we have an understanding and a proximity to a world-class rugby ecosystem in South Africa. So in terms of just bridging the gap in the immediate future, you know, if we can be intentionally channeling teams to go and say, you know what, go play in the Currie Cup. You know, let's have the Go Shocks, for example, go and play in the Currie Cup regularly. And our Go Shocks are not like your veterans. We're talking about maybe those kids who are transitioning from high school, maybe under 23 level. They can get smacked left, right, and center. But we benefit from being part of that system, because it's probably top tier. I don't think there's a more robust rugby system in the world, and it's just next door. And we can take so many learnings. Whilst we build our own rugby infrastructure and ecosystem, we can do that.
Let's move on to some football news and some midweek action in the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League starting today, with log leaders Zimbabwe travelling to Gweru for a clash with fourth place the Tel 1. Second place Moza waiters at PC Kariba. FC Platinum host Kwekwe, and Ngezi Platinum Stars welcome Caps United to the Baobab Stadium in Ngezi. Now Zimbabwe coach Joe Lupahla played down his side's advantage in the title race as he anticipates tougher challenges ahead.
It is still a marathon, We are only leading, it's a marathon, and the other teams are playing good football. They are not going to make it easy for us as the defending champions, and whichever team that we play, they always raise their stakes because we are the defending champions. But at the end of the day, we need to continue take one game as it comes. Now we go to tail one, another difficult game. Very good coach, very good team that they have there. It's not going to be easy at their own background, but we need to go there and try and make sure that we continue to our fine run that we've been having.
So yeah, that's Joe Lupahla, Simba Bora coach. So it's on midweek action. I know fixtures are coming in thick and fast, but as we slowly glide towards the end of the season, and the title race is nip and tuck like this: Simba Bora, Moors, Scotland, Tel 1, FC Platinum. You kind of feel like right now we don't even know how it's going to end.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think Simba Bora really put themselves in a very good position in terms of the transition that happened. New coach, almost the entire starting 11 left, and for them to be in this position, and you still feel like they can click another gear. You look at that log standing. For me, not to put pressure, but I think for Moors, the next two fixtures are critical in terms of their ambitions for the season. I know on record they have said, 40 points surviving, and maybe that's coming back to haunt them, because sometimes when you remove a target or when you feel like you've achieved something, it's like if I'm trying to lose weight and I say I want to lose 5 kilos, for example, right? Sometimes when I get to 5 kilos, I still have the potential to even go more and look even better and healthier. But because I've reached my target, I might end up gaining another 2 kilos. Because I've what? I've stopped going to the gym.
You've relaxed.
I've relaxed. So I'm saying it's critical for them to sort of break this. I know it's one of the toughest trips in the league, going to Nyamunga, and one of the toughest and meanest defenses in the league as well, in terms of ZPC Kariba. The new signings, I think we saw glimpses of them against FC Platinum. Semasiwa with 7 goals. Hopefully he can bring a different dynamic. We saw Abubakar Moffat making his debut, coming on as a second half substitute. And you were telling me you were there. You saw for the first time this season, Lloyd does a switch information to a back four. Is that something that can then rejuvenate them or give them a different dynamic going forward? I think that's a question that needs answers.
So a lot of things happening in our local football. So yeah, besides the action that's on today, tomorrow again, there's plenty of action in the Kasolaga Premier Soccer League. Then on Friday, election time again. The PSL will be choosing a substantive chairman. There are 4 candidates there. Leonard Musariri of Ngezi Platinum Stars. There's also Dumisani Sisale of FC Platinum, Masimba Chihuahua of Manika Diamonds, and Isaiah Mupfurutsa of Simba Bora. So a lot happening in our local football. Who are you fancying, to take over from Farai Jere?
Well, I've always considered that position a very ceremonial position of PSL chairman. I think it's just about obviously aligning with what the league, especially when it comes in the middle of a league season. But I'm just excited to see new blood. I'll be very frank and honest. I haven't really had too much in terms of what the individual candidates have said, but I think a common thread in some of the whispers and the articles that I've read has been around the commercialization of our league and how we can make it better. And I think we look at what the likes of Scotland, Simba Bora, Moors, Ngezi Platinum, FC Platinum have done. It shows that when there is money, things move. But we need to see it happening at league level, so that even the Kwekwe Uniteds, who might not necessarily have money bags, just by virtue. You know how, like, when you talk about the English Premier League, for example, I think they say promotion is worth $100 million. So teams fight to get in the league because the commercial success that comes with taking part in that. I don't imagine right now. For Bennett Marriott, and I'll give that as an example. If he knew that relegation was going to cost him $100 million, do you think it would be the same situation?
Nah. So yesterday, I was talking to one of the candidates, and I posed a question. I'm going to pose a similar question to you.
I'm not a candidate for the
No, you stake your claim at the top of the show that you are a part of Joe Thomas ensemble. So
I gotta fight. But anyway,
so the question I posed was just 10 days ago with the FIFA Club World Cup. And there were some huge amounts of money that were being talked about. Sundowns, just across the Limpopo, went home with over $12 million. And you look at Sundowns right now, and you want to draw comparisons with Dynamos. You know, a couple of years back, Dynamos even went to a final of a CAF, top competition. They were in the final. Yes, they lost to ASEC Mimosas, but over the years, they were a permanent feature. I think in 2008, they even went as far as the semi-finals.
Semi-finals, yeah.
Right. And you look at, the trajectory that Dynamos have been on, now on the verge of being relegated. You look at Mamelodi Sundowns, the way they are going up. Where have we gone wrong? Now you look at that vis-a-vis the elections that are about to happen in the Premier Soccer League.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and I think we'll be keeping tabs on that and the different stories that we give you on News Plus as well as Morning Rush here on ZTN Prime. But